We will start with the animal tissues. We being animals are superior as compared to the plants because we possess certain tissues which perform very astonishing functions, mainly the locomotion and movement. So to start with, we have divided the animal tissues into few groups, into few categories. The first type is called as the epithelial tissue. This type of tissue provide protection as well as from the outer side as well as from the inner side, and also perform certain secondary functions like absorption, secretion, diffusion, etc. The second type is the connective tissue that connects the different body parts with one another, such as blood, the skeletal framework, the fatty tissue. All these come under the category of connective tissue. Locomotion and movement, that's a very important characteristic feature of the animals, and it is being carried by a very elastic tissue in our body that is called as the muscular tissue. And last of all these tissues, they are present in the body and they work in coordination with one another because of the presence of a very important tissue that is called nervous tissue. So we will do all these tissues serially. Today we will study the first tissue, that is the epithelial tissue. So the objectives of today's lecture are to define epithelial tissue. Second is to enlist journal features of epithelial tissue, that how we will distinguish them from the other tissues. And last, to classify epithelial tissue on the basis of shape of cells. So again, to start with, first to define the epithelial tissue. So the tissue which is present in our body that cover and protect our body surfaces from outer side as well as the inner lining is called as the epithelial tissue. So which cover and protect outer side as well as line the inner lining of the body is called as the epithelial tissue. So the first main feature is it's a protective tissue that mainly consists of cells which are compactly arranged with a continuous sheet, forming a continuous sheet. They are compactly arranged with one another and they form a continuous sheet in our body so as to provide the protection. The second feature is they have cementing material between them. A cementing material is present in between them and with very, very small or no intercellular space. So since they are protecting the body, so they have no intercellular space in between them and they are forming continuous sheet so as to protect the surface. Even if they are performing the function of absorption or diffusion, they are forming a selectively permeable type of membrane and with the compactly arranged cell. So the keyword that we have to keep in our mind is compactly arranged cells. The main feature, my dear student, is the presence of a fibrous basement membrane in them. So these tissues, they have got at the base a layer of fibrous tissue that separate them from the underlying tissue. Suppose this is the skin. So skin is an epithelial tissue. It is separated from the underlying muscular tissue by means of a fibrous basement membrane. It does not consist of cells, but simply fibers are there. Fibers are there, and these fibers form the basement membrane. So this is the main characteristic feature of the epithelial tissue, that all the epithelial tissue are marked by the presence of the basement membrane. So these are the special features. This tissue, since it's a protective tissue, it consists of compactly arranged cells. There is little cementing material with no intercellular spaces between the cells, and a fibrous basement membrane is present which separate it from the underlying tissues. Now to start with, so these were the journal features. Now to start with the classification, we have divided the epithelial tissue on the basis of the shape of the cells. So if the shape of the cell is square shape, it is square shape, just like tiles of a pavement area. Don't forget to make the basement membrane. So these cells are square shape with the nucleus in the center and forming a very thin continuous layer. Then it is called as the squamous epithelium. Now these cells, we can list the examples. They are present in the lining of blood vessels. Lining of blood vessels. They are present in the lining of lungs, alveoli. We have done in 7th class. Lungs, they terminate into balloon-like structures called alveoli. So the membrane of the alveoli is made up of squamous epithelium, so that this is the blood vessel. Its membrane is also made up of squamous epithelium, and the lining of lung alveoli is also made up of squamous epithelium, so that the diffusion of gases can easily take place. So it's very thin in form. Esophagus and the lining of mouth. Lining of mouth is also bounded by the epithelial tissue. So please, my dear student, give emphasis on the examples also. Lining of blood vessel, lungs alveoli, esophagus, and the lining of mouth. They all have the epithelial tissue in them. Squamous epithelial tissue in them. There is a modification of this epithelial tissue. Now please see how I am making the layers of the cells. Layer number 1, layer number 2, layer number 3. They all are squamous epithelial cells. Layer number 4, and so on, each having the nucleus in them. But the nucleus is mainly restricted to the lower layers. There is the presence of a basement membrane. So it has got stratifications. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. These are the stratification layers. So such type of epithelia is called as the stratified squamous epithelium. And the best example of this, you can just imagine in your mind, it's skin. So skin has to play the role of protection. So protection cannot be given by only one layer of the cell. So many layers of the cells are present in these tissue. So this is the best example of the stratified squamous epithelia itself, that is the skin. Next come the columnar epithelia. As the name is indicating, these cells are column shape. Column shape means they are pillar-like. They are more in height than in width, and their nucleus is also restricted towards the lower side. Again, don't forget to make the basement membrane. So this is the diagram of the columnar epithelial cells. Now these columnar epithelial cells, they perform mainly the function of absorption and secretion. Absorption and secretion, and they are mainly present in the lining of intestine, where the digestion of the food is being completed and the absorption of the food into the blood has to be there. So columnar epithelium, the cells are more taller than their width. Basement membrane is there, and they are required or they are present where absorption and secretion should be there. And the best example of this is the lining of intestine. There is again a modification of columnar epithelium in which the cells, you just see that how I'm making the cells. These are the nucleus, and there are hair-like structures present at the free end of the cells. So these hair-like structures are called as cilia. So the epithelium is also called as ciliated columnar epithelium. This is simple columnar epithelium and this is ciliated columnar epithelium. So it is present in respiratory tract. Respiratory tract where the mucus is being produced. So suppose this cell is producing a mucus. Mucus is a sticky substance. Only few cells in the lining of respiratory tract produces mucus. So the mucus is being produced. Now the mucus has to form a continuous layer on the upper surface. So these cilia, they beat just like a broom and they make the continuous layer of the mucus over the respiratory tract, and the dust particles etc. they stick so that they cannot pose any damage to our body. So columnar epithelium, ciliated columnar epithelium, the best example is the respiratory tract. So a quick revision: features, protective tissue, actin cementing material is there with no intercellular space, fibrous basement membrane is there. Depending upon shape, squamous epithelium, simple one, present in the lining of blood vessels, alveoli, lung alveoli, esophagus, lining of mouth. These are the examples. They are also present in other locations, but these are the important example. The best modification of this is the stratified squamous epithelia that is present in the skin. Columnar epithelium, column-shaped cells are there. They are more taller than their width, present in the lining of intestine where absorption and secretion occurs. And its modification, cilia at the free end, ciliated columnar epithelium present in the respiratory tract. So one more epithelia is there that we will deal in the next part today. So please kindly see the diagrams, make it with your hand so that you can practice it well. Now we will meet in the next part to deal with the last part of this epithelial tissue, that is the cuboidal epithelium.